in the off season to prepare for this, because we weren't 5 days a week yet. I'm not writing. I did get a master's degree in latitudinal studies to help me figure out who should actually. I just went on Google. I went on Google and looked up what is latitude. So that would be fun to me. You like geography, right? Like you'd get a master's in latitudinal studies if they had it.
I actually minored in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's show the map. This will help. And we're not gonna always have maps here, but to get us started, if you're watching on YouTube, this is the joy of watching on YouTube. We think of this as a TV show. So if you're listening on a podcast, awesome. Thank you for doing it. I hope you enjoy your run/drive. But if you're home and you want to pop on YouTube, then you can see the map. These are our plotted points of our 28 northern teams. Top half of the country, Bill, there's kind of a line there, is there not? Like you see why these 28 power conference teams are our northern teams from this map, right?
Yeah. I think we didn't reconfigure the United States.
No,
we took it as it came to us, and I think we did it right. Yeah.
No, as we say, we did not invent the North, and we did not invent college football, but we did invent Northern college football. Right? Like that's what we're doing here. Because again, as we've gone out and talked about this and explained it to people at Big 12 Media Days and at Big 10 Media Days, and we've been out to Boston College and Pitt and Cincinnati and Ohio State and Penn State and various places around the North explaining what this is. You say Northern college football and people are like, huh. And then you say, well, you know how there's Southern college football? And everybody goes, yeah. And we say, well, we want that for us. And then they're like, oh, so the map. I'd like to make a shirt of a map. Would you wear a map shirt?
I would definitely wear a map shirt. Yeah, I'll put a map behind me on the wall here if you want to.
Yeah, we'll wear. I may print this out and put this up too. The banners come down and the map goes up. Now let's plot all 68 power conference teams, and you can see who is us and who is not us. Blue on the map is North. Orange on the map is what we consider Southern teams. And then I have 6 teams that I call border/California teams. Those 6 teams are Stanford, Cal, UCLA, and USC in the state of California, and then Louisville and Virginia Tech. And those are the green plotted points. This breakdown then in the 68 power conference teams becomes 28 Northern teams, 34 Southern teams, and 6 border teams. So if you add the border to the North, which we will at times, like we're going to be friendlier to them than we are the South, you split it in half, 34-34. Does this map help you, Bill? Should this map help people visualize what we're doing here?
It does help visualize. I also, I can't help but notice Mizzou, right? Kind of on a similar plane to a couple of our other teams. But I think we know why. I'm
going to blow your mind with latitude in a second. We also know why. We also know. Well, so let's just say it now. If you want to be in the North, maybe don't join a conference that starts with the word South. You have done it to yourselves, Missouri. You chose your side, right? And so we're not going to beg you. And if you beg us, maybe if you leave the SEC someday, we'll think about it. Because we see the map. I also got a latitudinal thing for you here. But we get it. But, Bill, is that not a distinction? Kansas and Kansas State, they didn't join the SEC, so we took them. How can we have a team that's in the Southeastern Conference?
We kind of have two, because Kentucky, like Lexington, is not super far out of our reach. But you catch a lot with the SEC. We don't want you. Have fun.
Yeah. So the 2 real border teams are Louisville and Virginia Tech. And Virginia Tech is more of a snowfall average temperature play for the North. And Louisville is a little bit of snowfall latitudinal play for the North. But the thing as it is now is with those 2 maps, you can see we're not splitting states. So at the moment, Virginia and Kentucky and Missouri are not with us. And if we added Louisville and Virginia Tech, now we're splitting states. I'm not against that. And we are open to the idea of Louisville and Virginia Tech, but we're not there yet. And that it made it easier. We just brought in Kansas and Kansas State together. That is at least a little part of it for me.
I like that eventually Kings of the North is going to actually reconfigure the map of the United States. And we're going to have like a New Kentucky that includes Louisville and Old Kentucky that includes Lexington. And we will claim New Kentucky for the North.
For real. Yeah. We could go North Kentucky too, right? I mean, like we'll make new states. I mean, like it depends how popular we get. I think we have a chance.
West Virginia and Western Virginia. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Whatever it takes, right? So here's the other thing to help you visualize, Mike. Let's get to the third map. This is us. And this I also want to kind of see on a t-shirt, Bill.
Yeah,
These
I like
are
that.
our
cool.
northern states that we are talking about in college football. Now, this map is 30 northern states. So there are states, 19 of the 30 northern states here, we have teams in. We have power conference teams in that we're going to talk about regularly on this show. There are 11 states that don't have power conference teams that we are going to regularly talk about this show. But I want to say to Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Delaware, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho, we are still your home. And we want to be on the lookout for interesting college football stories in those states. Did somebody play in 2 feet of snow? Did somebody at the FCS level or Division II or Division III or high school throw 10 touchdown passes? Did a coach make an amazing play call, right? Like we are on alert, Bill, for everything happening in the North. And again, visualize this. You see the little carve out for Missouri. You did it to yourself. This is us. This is Northern college football. You see this kind of thing with the South, right? Don't you see like SEC country carved out? If they can carve it, we can carve it. So we did a little carve out. Again, visualize when you think about this show, think about ball first. It's ball first. Mm-hmm. It's not laws first, and it's not latitudes first. But latitudes matter. And snow matters, and temperature matters, and culture matters, and everything that makes, I think, some commonality in Northern college football matters. These are our 30 states, Bill.
These are our teams. Also, shout out to Montana State. We know our brother from the North for springing that FCS over FBS upset this week.
Absolutely, even though they were favored. But yeah, that was a huge thing. And also, like we can say, I noted, for instance, that Georgia Tech is north of Florida State. So when there are 2 non-northern teams, maybe you lean northernmost. And certainly Nevada is north of SMU, and Nevada gave SMU all they could handle. Like we could be open to Nevada. Reno's pretty north, right? Like we're open to that. North. So like Reno's,
we're open to all these. There's snow.
Yeah. So how did we figure this out? Let's talk about latitude first, because people have been asking, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is. I get a lot of questions. Like, when are you guys going to talk about latitude? I was like, just wait.
So the Mason-Dixon line was drawn at basically 39.43 degrees latitude. That's not exactly what we took. Okay. Our KOTN latitudinal line is at 38.95 degrees latitude, because the Kansas campus is at 38.96 degrees latitude, and the Missouri campus is at 38.93 degrees latitude. So 0.03 degrees latitude. It might be where your stadium is, actually. I think I did it by the stadium. That's the difference. So that is we don't have anybody south of 38.95 degrees latitude. So as much as we do have some things where we're gonna, it's not a hard and fast rule. That is. So we're willing to move the line. Borders move all the time. But right now, that's the KOTN border. So if you have a question, it's like, I'm sorry, Missouri. You try to scooch up 0.03 degrees latitude, and maybe you'd be in, but also leave your conference.
Yeah, leave your conference, because we're not banking on an earthquake to shift your geography to move you up a little bit. Can we get some gear? Is it 38.95, you said?
Yeah.
38.95 degrees, just like on a hat, like right in the middle of the hat.
Yeah.
I'd wear that.
Please keep giving merch ideas. I love it. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about average temperature. I looked at average temperature for all these campuses. 42 degrees as your average temperature in December is basically the dividing line. If you are warmer than 42 degrees average temperature in December, you're probably south, okay? None of the 28 northern teams are warmer than 42 degrees. 4 of the 6 border schools are are right on the edge. That's why they're border schools. And then there are 5 Southern teams that we characterize as Southern that are colder than 42 degrees. Oklahoma, Virginia, Oklahoma State, Kentucky, and Missouri. So that's like another thing. Like Missouri is the coldest of the schools we call Southern, but also leave the SEC. So 42 degrees Fahrenheit in December is a dividing line. Are you okay with that?
I am okay with that. How flexible are we with the moving target there? I heard from the Farmer's Almanac it could be a pretty cold winter across the country if
we are
averages start
flexible.
dipping. Okay.
Also climate change. We have to be on our toes. So we are flexible with that, but that's a dividing line for now. The coldest, by the way, you want to guess which northern school has the coldest average December temperature?
Of our 28?
Of our 28.
Northwestern?
Minnesota, 22.1 degrees average temperature. So that's a dividing line. And then the other dividing line is snowfall. This is yearly snowfall. Do you want to guess which northern school gets the most snow per year? 127 inches average snowfall. Of our 28 schools.
Nestled in the mountains?
Syracuse.
Oh.
Very snowy. Very snowy.
Lake effect. They get the lake effect.
They do get the lake effect. So 127 inches of snowfall down to 13 inches of snowfall. That is another dividing line for us. Everybody in the north gets at least 13 inches of snow per year, except 2 teams, Washington and Oregon, because of the temperate climate on the Pacific coast. But they are so north latitudinally. Washington is the northernmost school latitudinally for us. Oregon is second. I mean, I'm not bordering Oregon and Washington because they're by the ocean and so it doesn't snow. It just rains.
Yeah.
So they're the exceptions to the rule. Everybody else gets at least 13 inches of snow.
Is it? Yeah. Precipitation wise, I'm sure Washington and Oregon are in lockstep with a lot of our other teams. Yeah.
We would prefer you to shovel snow to be on this show, but we get it. And then there are 2 southern schools that do get more than 13 inches of snow. Missouri gets 16 inches and Kentucky gets 14.5 inches. And then our 2 border schools, Virginia Tech gets 24 inches and Louisville gets 13 inches. So we acknowledge that it snows there. So that's like another thing in Missouri's favor. Missouri's right on the border latitudinally, and they meet the threshold from cold and snow, but they've made their choice.
Yeah.
So that snow, temperature, latitude, and then also like culture, how you think about the sport. So I have manifesto is such a loaded word at this point for a variety of reasons. I mean, that like there's 2 people that you think of when you hear the word manifesto now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who are the people?
I don't want to say.
You can say it. You can say the Unabomber and Connor Stallions. You can say it. Yeah. It's fine. So I do have a manifesto about what we want to do on this show. And there is a lot culturally, like tailgate food and playing football in the snow or in the leaves, like in the fall. Like there's a lot of this that I think we can find a decent amount of commonality among our 28 teams. And I'm not saying you couldn't find it with Missouri and Louisville and Virginia Tech too, but like that's probably even more important than latitude, how you think about the sport. And that's what we kind of want to lean into in a lot of ways on Kings of the North.
Yeah. Does it mostly come back to how much you celebrate firing people? It's not merely that, but that feels like a big part of it.
Yeah. Unreasonable expectations. And it's not like the North is not capable of that. We certainly understand that, but there's different levels to it. And the thing that I want to emphasize is that in the North, I think like we want to beat them without being them. So we don't accept losing, but I will say at the beginning, the initial genesis of this idea is there had not been a lot of Northern teams that were the kings of college football. So we wanted to acknowledge their successes rather than having everything up here being like, well, they couldn't beat Georgia. They couldn't beat Alabama. They couldn't beat LSU. They couldn't beat Florida. Like that's how you are sort of, even the best teams in the North were defined that way because there used to be things that just gave the South an advantage. Demographics, certainly having more of the good players in the South, right? Like everybody knows that. That's part of it. What would be the other thing that may have given the South an advantage in the past? What's the thing that I can't think of the word, but you know what it is. Do we have to say it? We're not going to say it. But has it been the same, Bill? Has Northern college football and Southern college football have they gone about it the same way for the last 20 years?
I would say definitively not. No.
Okay. And you know what it is. You can say it in your head. We're not going to say it here, but that's an impetus for this show too. So in that world, we wanted to create somewhere where we could say, okay, it doesn't mean that you accept losing to the South, but let's acknowledge that it's not the same. It is a little harder up here. Mm-hmm. And let's celebrate the wins also as you try to do better. And then what happened? We started this show last year with the soft launch, and we got a national championship game between two Northern teams, and the North rose up. So this show in its initial creation and idea was a little bit more excuse making. There was a but in it. You know, the South's great, but the North is too, even though they can't beat the South. The but has been removed. And I think there are things happening with NIL, with the transfer portal, and just with the North again, getting it together, that I don't think the North has to take a back seat to the South anymore. So now Kings of the North can be and currently are the kings of college football, thanks to Michigan and Washington. So the idea even shifted right as we started, and I think that will continue. I do not think that the North has to take a backseat to the South right now. And when I thought of this show, it was maybe going to be acknowledging a little bit that the North is in the backseat, but sometimes the backseat's cool too.
Sometimes the backseat is cool. Although I get a little car sick when I sit in the backseat, so I'm glad. I'm glad to not be there. Yeah, I'm happy to be in the front seat. Yeah,
car sick in the backseat. That's fair. Okay, so like, do you feel like we know who we are now, Bill? Do you know who we are? Do the people out there know who we are? We had to lay it down. Like, what is this? Why are we doing it? And like, what's the impetus for even creating this? I hope we've laid that out a little bit.
Yeah, I think we have, and I think the people who have been with us for, kind of since the launch sort of knew that. But you do make a good point that I think is worth explaining, even to those people who have kind of been there from the start. Is that this is a little bit of a different endeavor than I think we set out for, which you just laid out there. But I think it's a far more interesting conversation now to talk about whether or not King of the North can at times equal king of college football, because I totally believe that it can. We got proof of that last year, but I don't think that was a blip. I think that was the start of, I think, kind of even footing as the sport goes into a future that is like still, a little uncertain. We don't know exactly what college football is going to look like 20 years from now, but I think the North and the teams that we talk about and the best teams that we talk about are well positioned, and it's not just Ohio State, are well positioned to be a part of that conversation moving forward.